right. In a major development in US-India relations, US President Donald Trump has announced a finalized trade agreement with India following a phone call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Effective immediately, the United States is slashing tariffs on Indian goods to 18%, down from as high as 50%, which included a punitive 25% duty tied to India's purchases of Russian oil. According to US President Donald Trump's post on Truth Social, India has agreed to halt imports of Russian oil and shift the greater supplies from the United States and potentially Venezuela. Trump also stated that India will commit to purchasing more than $500 billion worth of American energy, technology, agricultural products, coal and other goods. In addition, he claimed that India will move to reduce its tariffs and non-tariff barriers on US products to zero, describing the deal as a step that will strengthen bilateral ties and help bring an end to the war in Ukraine. Prime Minister Narendra Modi confirmed the tariff reduction on X, posting that he is delighted that made in India products will now face just an 18% tariff in the US. He thanked President Trump and highlighted the immense opportunities ahead for the world's two largest democracies. The announcement comes shortly after India's recent major trade pact with the European Union and as the United States continues to hold its position as India's top single country trading partner. Right. In fact, we have some news from the stock market now, which had in fact been battered by the budget 48 hours ago. The market swung violently the other way today after US President Donald Trump announced the long pending India-US trade deal had been agreed. The Sensex opened over 3,600 points in the green to cross 85,000 after having closed at 81,666.46, and similarly bruised Nifty 50 gained 1,200 points from its Monday close of 25,088.40. At opening, all sectoral indices showed huge gains, with realty, auto, consumer durables and IT among the big movers, up 4.47%, 3.78%, 3.69% and 3.04% respectively. India's stock markets have seen massive volatility over the past week, starting with the benchmark indices erasing overnight losses after a free trade agreement with the European Union as well. Let me in fact discuss this further with Kashish Gupta, who is the finance and market expert. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the broadcast. We appreciate your time. Mr. Gupta, first of all, how are you looking at these reduction in tariffs from 25 to 18? The markets are overjoyed. They are in the green today, finally, after days of slump. Mr. Gupta, if you can unmute yourself, please. All right. In fact, let me go across to Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, who's also with us on the broadcast. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining us. We appreciate your time. Ambassador, first of all, how are you looking at the deal? We obviously do not have the details of it, but through Trump's post and through Narendra Modi's post, we have three things clear. There has been a reduction in the tariffs from 25 to 18%. We also know that Trump has said that India will have to stop Russian oil purchases, and we are also looking at 0% tariffs for American made products. So how do you react to these first initial factors that are coming in, sir?
Okay, thank you very much for having me on your show. You know, what I would like to say is, you mentioned we are clear about three things. I would like to mention that we are in fact clear about only one thing at the moment, and that one thing is the tariffs have come down. Tariffs have come down not from 25% to 18%, but they have in fact, as the US ambassador mentioned last evening, they have come down from 50% to 18%. So that is a very welcome move. I warmly welcome this. This has been hanging like a Damocles sword over the heads of our exporters and over our economy, which has been performing very sluggishly over the last 1 year or so. In fact, it has been the worst performing economy across most of the emerging economies and even the developed economies. EU has done well, South Korea has done well, America, US economy has done well. Indian economy, Indian stock market has not performed that well at all. So that has given a boost to the market. You were just reading out a report, and I agree with that. And basically, everyone was really waiting for this announcement to be made. The other two announcements, madam, that you mentioned about 0% tariffs, there is no clarification or there is no confirmation of this from Prime Minister Modi or from any of the Indian interlocutors. Similarly, is the issue of stopping of purchase of Russian oil by India. There is no confirmation, there is no clarification on this as yet. I would really like to wait for the Indian authorities to come out and give their own perspective on this. I would be very doubtful on both these accounts whether India is going to agree to a 0% tariff on all American products coming into the Indian market. I don't think that is possible at all. And we'll really have to wait and see. There might be sort of, some calibrated reduction of tariffs, some staggered reduction of tariffs on certain products, but not on all the products. So we'll really have to wait and see what is the fine print in that. And also, as far as Russian oil is concerned, it has come down over the last few months because of market concentrations, in my view, not as a result of the pressure that is being put on India by the United States. We have stated very clearly that our government doesn't tell our oil companies that you go out in the international market and buy from country A, B, or C. They tell them to go and buy what they need at the best available prices and in accordance with the global situation and the circumstances that prevail at that particular moment. So I guess they will purchase. That has been coming down a little from what our companies have been purchasing from Russia. Basically, because two of their large companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, they have been put under sanction, and none of the big refiners in India would like to put themselves in a position where they are violating any of the sanctions. So, and there are, of course, other items also that India should buy Venezuelan oil. We can discuss that. Also, that India has, that's what Mr. Trump has stated, that India has agreed to purchase $500 billion worth of products, worth of oil and technology and coal and other things from the United States. We'll really have to wait and see, what we have agreed, because, Mr. Trump is given to great exaggeration. Mr. Trump is given to great hyperbole. We have seen that, in his claims of stopping 8 wars and all the other things. So I would like to patiently wait for the Indian government to make its position, which I'm sure today or tomorrow in the parliament it will be stated, and then we can discuss that. But I would have, a great difficulty in accepting this point about $500 billion of imports, because our total imports every year are in the range of about $740 billion, out of which about more than $200 billion are purchase of oil. So, this $500 billion, is it going to be staggered over 5 years or 10 years? We'll really have to wait and see. And the Venezuelan oil, we are already buying Venezuelan oil. And if need be, the reason why we are not buying all that much is because Venezuela cannot produce all that much of oil. So we'll really have to wait and see what are the discussions. But we know that our Prime Minister had spoken to the acting president of Venezuela, Celia Rodriguez, a few days ago, and they had also discussed about expanding our cooperation and our partnership.
Right, Ambassador. In fact, let me introduce this piece of information that we are flashing on our screens for our viewers. According to reports, India is expected to maintain its long-standing position of keeping sensitive agricultural goods and dairy items out of the trade deal with the United States. Reportedly, those sectors are unlikely to be part of any major market opening commitments. However, reports are also emerging that the India-US trade deal could include some agricultural products. President Donald Trump announced that the India-US trade deal on February 2nd, claiming a significant rollback of reciprocal tariffs imposed from mid-2025. According to Trump, the US will cut reciprocal tariffs on Indian goods to 18%, while duties on American products imported into India are expected to fall to zero. Officials have also said that negotiators from both the sides are currently working on the documentation and are in discussions. Let me in fact go across to Kashish Gupta, who is also with us on the broadcast. Mr. Gupta, when we are looking at the agriculture sector specifically, in all our FTAs, in all our trade deals that we keep doing with various countries, we make sure that agriculture remains our red line. Over here as well, market experts are stating that agriculture will be something that will be left out when the details of this deal emerges. But we have the US agriculture secretary making a lot of comments regarding this entire deal since last night when we got to know about this deal. He has been stating that there will be an export of US agricultural products into India. How are you looking at that sector responding, sir?
Thank you first of all for having me on your show. Look, we have seen in the past that agricultural goods are mostly kept out of the purview whenever we make any free trade agreement or any kind of agreement with other countries. The reason being, India's major sector is agriculture, and if we open our markets to other economies for in free trade agreement or like for free trade, then our farmers will suffer. We have seen last year also the major barrier to US India trade was not oil. The major barrier was agriculture because US has since long wanted to introduce itself into the agricultural sector. And when this news came last night, this was one area of concern. Even the opposition has raised certain concerns over how agriculture will be seen into this new agreement with US. As you have also said that the US ministry, the agriculture minister have been making a lot of statements about the exports of agricultural products from US to India. Now there are certain concerns over this. The first concern is that the US agricultural industry is very subsidized. US government is subsidizing it very heavily so that they can compete with the Indian goods. The second thing is that in India there is a kind of religious sentiment with dairy products or with agricultural products because in India we feed our we feed our everyone animals with vegetable products or dairy products. But in US, the agricultural produce is not completely vegetarian produce because they are also feeding their animals with non-vegetarian produce. So there is also a kind of an religious barrier there. So it could be good to see how details come across this thing, whether the US agriculture ministry's claims are true or not, because it would definitely be an area of concern if the Indian government had agreed to opening our markets completely for import of agricultural products from US. Now, if we look at the other things apart from agriculture, our Indian exporters are facing a lot of pressure since last 1 year because the high tariffs had made their products non-competitive in terms of pricing in the US markets. And for them, it has been a good news that the tariffs have once again reduced from 50% to 18%. Now there will be happy, and the impact can completely be seen in today's market. All the major indexes, be it Nifty, Sensex, Gift Nifty, Bank Nifty, Fin Nifty,
Absolutely, Mr.
all.
Gupta. Absolutely. In fact, according to a report, the India-US trade deal is expected to give a boost to the Indian stock markets further. And the report said that foreign investors have pulled out around $34 billion from the Indian equities since October 2024, the highest among emerging markets. Since the US makes up about 41% of foreign investor holdings in India, better trade ties could lead to fresh investments. And sectors with high foreign investment presence such as real estate, telecom, transport, financial services, also healthcare are likely to benefit first. Now, other sectors like capital goods, IT services and power utilities may also see new investments. In fact, let me rope in Ambassador on this regarding this entire development. Sir, you have mentioned something of the $500 billion purchases that has also been mentioned by US President Donald Trump, and you said that this is something that you do not see happening. How do you see the Indian stock markets? And because we are looking at the investor sentiment, they believe that more investments will flow in, but if we are looking at a $500 billion purchase, how do you think that will affect our economy, sir?
United States is concerned, currently it is to the tune of about $130 billion or so, in which we have about $85 billion of exports, and the United States exports about 40 plus billion dollars. So we have a trade surplus of about $45 billion, and notwithstanding the additional tariffs of 50% that were imposed on Indian goods. Not all are exports, but about $45 billion of our exports were came under tariffs of 50% from August last year. But that notwithstanding, I think because of the depreciation of the Indian rupee, we have been able to not only maintain our exports to the US market, but we have also been able to expand them somewhat by about 3 to 4%. So there is a certain resilience as far as Indian exports are concerned. Now coming to your question about the $500 billion. So $500 billion was a figure that both sides had decided 2 years ago, that that would be the total trade turnover that the two countries will aspire for by 2030. That is both imports and exports between the two countries would be $500 billion. So, making this $500 billion announcement as being India's imports from the United States, I think that's a very unrealistic figure. That having been said, of course, all the FIIs that have fled India over the last 1 year or more than that, basically because they thought that the United States being the largest market, export market for India, as I said, $85 billion. It is the largest export market. The second one being only the United Arab Emirates, which comes to about 35, $40 billion. So if there is no trade deal and there is pressure on India, so the investment in India was not taking place. There was no FIIs, rather than staying here, they were going out because there were more lucrative markets like South Korea, like European Union, like the United States. They were doing very well. So, but now that the trade deal has been signed, so that roadblock in front of us, that has been removed. Along with that, we also see the mother of all deals having been signed, that is India and the European Union. And that also in the area of goods, it is about 135, $140 billion two-way trade exchange. There also India has a trade surplus with the European Union, about 75, $80 billion we are exporting, and the balance about 45, 50 we are importing from there. So, and India has signed many other trade deals, particularly with developed countries. So, I think that will give a significant boost, and that has been witnessed in the market today.
Right.
So, if we are able to retain and sustain this positive sentiment in the market, then of course FIIs coming, more investment flows also coming into
Right.
the Indian